Map number 2 now of this best of 3. Both of these players battling it out to get one of the 4 spots today in WCS EU Challenger Season 2. Who's going to advance forward though into the round of 64? Who's going to be able to make it? Well, spawning in the top left hand position, we've got the Red Terran player representing ATN. It's kauP. And his opponent in the lower left, the Green Zerg. Currently 1-0 up in this best of 3. It's Tefel. Tefel game 1 showed us his unorthodox ZvT style. Going for that spawning pool first into Roach Hydra up against Bio, but boy did it work. It hits like a truck in the mid game, and it wasn't stopping for anything. Straight through kauP, who put in a lot of harassment with some Reapers, with some Hellions, and then obviously some Marines and Medevacs, but he just wasn't able to defend that absolutely massive amount of Roaches and Hydras that were just knocking on the door. So keeping a close eye on Tefel, he is again going to be going down for that 14 pull, which is very Tefel. He gets a 14 pull, I think, in every matchup, all the time. Barracks now also coming through, and that refinery yet again from kauP, so he's opening up Reapers. I'm going to be really interested to see if he gets down just the 1 Reaper, or if he gets down 2 and goes into that Hellion harassment again. The 1 Reaper is pretty much essential on Outer Rim because it's such a large map. To scout in any kind of decent time, you need it. Now this is a bit unusual for Tefel. He's expanding up into the natural base on Outer Rim, and that may seem like I've created a ridiculously strange sentence, but let me tell you why. Tefel generally on Outer Rim expands to his 3rd, and the reason for that is it's not too hard to defend, but it also means that your opponent, unless they actually get into your natural, don't know whether you've got that or not, and so it's hard to tell whether it's a 2 or 3 base position. Unfortunately, one of the other casters seems to have had a bit of lag issues here, so we're going to have to wait for that to resolve, which is always a little bit unfortunate. Tefel, sad face. At least it's early on. That's always a great way to think of it, but it would appear that this is a dropout with the amount of time that's ticking away. Gives us a good chance, though, to look at how things have gone so far. Tefel adding in that extractor right on cue. He's going to be probably getting out just... Well, I say he's probably going to get out speed, but then it's Tefel. He likes getting his Roach one really early. And that's going to make things very exciting. kauP now, adding in that Reaper. No, actually it's his 2nd Reaper. Yeah, it is. I doubted myself there, and I suddenly thought, have I said something that isn't quite true? But no, 2nd Reaper coming out. So he is going to be going for that same opening that we saw from game number 1. Tefel, also opening very similar. He's got a bit of a tougher time defending this if it does go into the Hellions than on map 1. And that's because he can't easily wall off here because the creep spread doesn't spread that far. So he needs to make sure he gets the creep going, gets it over there just so he can get into a good defensive spot. And if he does go Roaches, it's actually a lot easier to defend because of the fact that this ramp is so narrow. You can just put some Roaches up here and laugh at the Reapers and Hellions try and make their way through. Looks like we are going to be getting those Hellions, Factory and Reactor, both on their way. Both Reapers this game though have decided to join in the shenanigans and start poking and prodding. Tefel has scouted his opponent, knows the timing of this natural base, but should be pretty confident that unless something really crazy was going on, that that's when the natural would be hitting. Super early lair, or an earlier lair than last game from Tefel. He's adding in a 2nd gas. Still no sign of Zergling speed, nor a Roach run, despite Tefel about to be hitting up to 100 gas. We should see speed or one of those getting started soon. No 3rd base either, so Tefel opening a little bit differently to what we saw on the first map. But to be honest, that makes sense. It's a much bigger map, different strategies need to be employed. Roach Hydra would take significantly longer to get across, and unless your opponent's gone for a 3rd, it's harder to break into the natural base. Could be seeing Mutalisks with this 3rd gas getting taken. No 4th gas though, so that makes me doubt it slightly, but Mutas would be really effective on out to him because of how much dead space there is around this natural, and also around the back of the main you can sneak in pretty quick. Spire is on its way down. Note that it's hidden, out of position for a scan. Generally a Terran player will scan like here, and maybe they'll scan down here in case you've hidden it. This would be a really strange area to scan, so Tefel banking on it not being seen. However, Reapers, they're coming in. They do scout it, one coming right the way past, so Tefel has now been revealed in all of his trickery and plans that he wanted to get through here. Good pickup by kauP, who backs on out, losing one Reaper, may even lose a second Reaper now if he's not careful, does manage to get it just away in time. But still, beautiful scouting information, knowing that Spire is coming at a very early point is some great play from our Red Terran player this map. He's adding in the double engineering base. This means he can get double upgrades, but more importantly, he can build some missile turrets. That should keep him safe and sound from the nasty Mutalisks for a good amount of time, until you start getting out a lot of them. And Tefel, while he's got 600 gas banked up, he's not going to be able to pump out much more than that. Maybe 7 Mutalisks if he spent all of his money right now, 8 if he waited a bit, but that still isn't a terrifying number of Mutas. Mutas don't get super scary until you start seeing sort of 15 odd. That's when they start being able to do some serious damage. 2 Widow Mines in with this push, just going to be looking to try and contain Tefel and prevent him from moving out easily. Picking off these drones as they come through. First 2 worker kills and some of the first casualties of the game so far. The Mutas do need to be careful, but the Widow Mines were seen to be burrowing, so the Queen's coming out in front just to pick those off. And the Hellions and Reapers now vulnerable to these Mutas. No anti-air in that composition apart from the mines, and that gives Tefel a lot of space. Missile turrets though coming down. 2 at the natural base, 2 out the front of the main. Third one actually down to the side there, so good coverage with those missile turrets. Going to prevent the Mutalisks from being able to do too much damage early on. Just backing Tefel away, but Tefel, he's just going to be looking to drone mainly now. It's approaching the 10-minute mark and he's only at 59 workers. He needs to up that number quite substantially because his overall economy is not fantastic yet. Once we're getting to kind of like 64, 66 ASAP now. Adding in the Baneling Nest, so it's going to be a Zergling Baneling Muta composition out of the Dignitas Zerg. kauP on the other hand, he's just adding in more Marines, the 1-1 upgrades, and also the Starport now, which is really actually quite late at 10 minutes 15. Couple of drones getting fried here. Roasted drones definitely on the menu for kauP any day that he can get it. And a couple of emergency spore crawlers being made just to try and keep them alive as best they can. Mutalisks though, getting their way back, will pick all of this off. So Tefel only losing 4 SCVs in exchange for all of that harassment potential. A relatively good trade for Tefel, and his Mutas just reigning supreme. Speed for the Lings, nearly done. Baneling speed just started. The +1 carapace and +1 melee attack also on the way, although the carapace a lot further ahead. But overall upgrades are really favouring kauP. He's got the 1 attack already done, +1 armor nearly finished. His armory though, a little bit off timing, and that means the 2-2 can't instantly start. Baneling's now morphing through, the +1 flyer attack coming on its way for Tefel. Gonna make those Mutalisks more effective, increase their viability to engage head up against the odd turret or 2 if they want to snipe them off quick. Nice little scan, just to get a read at, hey, what's my opponent doing, what's coming out. Probably can see that Spire researching, which is a really important thing to spot. Spine Call is coming down from Tefel as well. He wants to make sure that he's not going to be taking any damage. A lack of static defense though at the natural and main does make him vulnerable to drops, but he doesn't have to panic hugely with that because of the spawn positions. Getting a drop down here would go a little bit out the way, and with Mutalisks on the map, you've got to be very careful where you send those medevacs. So a Muta goes down there just for a little bit of poking and prodding. Not ideal for Tefel, but also not the end of the world. kauP taking now his 3rd base and just looking to pressure a little bit, and this is the drop coming in from the side. There's no overlords around here, and all of Tefel's army positioned at the 3rd base. Interesting to see kauP moving forward now. Sees a lot of Banelings, these Marines running away frantically. Pick up, gonna start loading back, heading towards that natural while the Mutalisks attempt to get some damage done, but they're getting pincered between Marines and missile turrets. Gonna allow kauP to pick off a good number of them, which is far from perfect. 4th base now for Tefel is up and running, and another interesting point is Tefel's decided to expand towards his opponent. Most Zergs would expand away, down to this 4th base to the right, but Tefel wants the quicker reinforcement distances, wants to be more aggressive. Keeping a close eye on exactly what these Marines and what the medevac are going to get up to, but oh, the Mutalists see the Marines, they see the medevac, they can engage head on. There's enough of them, they got +1. Medevac trying to pick up and boost away, gonna have to start dropping those Marines out one at a time to their inevitable death. There's a lot of Mutas, there's 20 of them on the field, so won't struggle to take this out. One Mutalist did die, but for a medevac and all those Marines is worthwhile. So keeping a close little peek at exactly what's coming down on kauP's side, he's got 3 bases. Sensor Tower just to give him advance notice of any movements from Tefel's Mutas where they're trying to sneak through. Also good Marine placement, all about anywhere there isn't any missile turrets, just to make sure that obviously the Mutas don't sneak by and get some good harassment through. Tefel, getting his infestation pick, going to be looking to tech up into Hive in order to start those Ultralisks and obviously the 3-3 upgrades, which he'll probably be looking for late game. Also, a couple of Infestors wouldn't be out of normal, because if you get fungal growths out, you're going to be looking really damn happy when those Banelings start getting the big connections. But that's even when you get that far. Tefel, he's adding in 14 more Banelings now. He's going to be trying to crush through. Sensor Tower will give a massive advance warning that this is coming, and with the tanks in a nice position, especially this one at the back, should be able to pick off the Banelings unless they're a bit more sizable in number. Mutas leading the charge, Tefel preparing to come in from multiple angles to minimize that splash damage, but seeing those tanks just decides against the engagement. Hive coming down from Tefel, the Mutalisk is going to be looking to try and come through. With a +1 attack, they can duke it out with these turrets very nicely. And no repairs actually coming down yet. With this many Mutas, they can even engage a repairing turret very nicely. And this means a lot of SCVs are going to get taken down. Good control here by Tefel, knowing when he can engage. And that's a little bit awkward for kauP, who lost 22 workers so far this game, taking him to a grand total of 50, compared to the 87 drones that Tefel's sitting at. And this missile turret taking some damage, but quick repairs on that one, keep it all nice and safe. The natural base, making sure that that's not going to occur again. 4 missile turrets now coming down, should deter any of these Mutalisks trying to move in. 3-3 upgrades on the way out from kauP. Meanwhile, over at Tefel's side, his Hive is about 3/4 done, so we should be seeing an Ultralisk Cavern and his 3-3 upgrades get started soon. Tefel skirting around the edge of this sensor tower, doesn't want to reveal his position, but it's kauP now who's preparing to get aggressive. This move out, I don't believe it's been seen as of yet from Tefel. Trying to see if he's got any vision of this area, but I love the way the kauP's going. He knows that this base is up. He's dropping to draw back all of Tefel's army. And Tefel's going to defend this, but his 4th that he took really close to his opponent is now in a vulnerable spot. Getting a good surround on this army as it pokes through will be more difficult, but Tefel going for it immediately. These Marines have got to make sure that they're keeping the tanks secure, because otherwise this large Mutaflock can deal a lot of damage. The Banelings just crashing through, feeling very confident. A lot of kauP's army wasn't there to engage, meaning that a good number of Marines get taken out. More Banelings morphing through though. The Ultra Cavern now done. 88 more Zerglings in production. But Tefel, realizing this base is forfeit, abandons it, backs out, and just expands to the bottom right. It would be a bad position to engage in for Tefel, although he is managing to pick up a couple of tanks as this army moves forward. The Banelings come through, and this was a beautiful move by Tefel, and kauP getting a bit too greedy with that move forward. Loses the majority of his army, and Tefel now sitting up by 57 supply. A big lead for him there. A double the army supply basically. Gonna be trying to get some more damage through. This 3rd base, the refinery, that's dead and gone. That missile turret isn't going to be defending it, nor is it going to be defending itself as it gets sniped off instantly. More missile turrets getting taken down. This is a lot of damage being done by the Dignitas Tefel. Engaging this many missile turrets simultaneously, not sure that's the best move, but if it gets them all taken down, it's worth it, because he can continue to deny mining from the natural base, forcing more to be remade, and this is going to be very strong for Tefel now. The only reason I said it's a bit of a problem is because he lost a lot of mutas duking that out. 19 have died so far this game, but still, 24 on the field, 9 more coming through, and those ultras on their way. In comes a large army though from Tefel, the Banelings rushing through, a lot detonating on the Thor, but that keeps the Mutalisks safe, who are ravaging that third. A good number of Marines though, forcing back all of these Mutalisks, and a defense, again, positioned nicely. Tefel though, attempting to come back into that natural base. These Marines heavily stimmed with no medevacs, very low health, and the command center is likely to fall. The Marines trying to repair it up, unfortunately fall victim to the bouncing attacks of mutas, and down it goes. No natural base anymore for kauP, and he's about to have to contend with a lot of ultras. The mutas backing away, keeping kauP in a very defensive spot. His income severely hindered by his third natural being basically ransacked. The fourth is going to be key now. Mutalisks finding an orbit command. Bear in mind, these mutas only have the +1 air attack and are still being so effective. Production facilities not guarded by missile turrets are going to be the next victim. Tank count going to be limited, as that was only one of 2 factories kauP had available. The mutas backing out again, but the Ultralisks preparing to lead the charge. They'll soak up some of that tank damage nicely. If they can close the distance, allow the Banelings to get in, it's going to be a rough time. A good number of tanks over to the right will force a retreat, but the Mutalisks able to take out that third base. And with that, kauP realizes he's not going to be going any further this game. GG's out, and Dignitas's Tefel will advance forward 2-0.